Ben Neal is back. Yay, Ben. Um, and I was looking up the word abide uh, l- before we started today, and I'm thinking that it's to uh, well, I'm going to let Ben get on with that. I have a definition for it, but I'm not going to say it now. Ben is a poet. He's a musician and a really good one. He writes and student of many religion and wisdom traditions. And he lives in Kansas City with his partner, his son, and one of the dogs is on the bed right now, right? Yes. Or maybe more. So, Ben, the floor or the airways are yours.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate your humor, your friendliness, your levity. What a great introduction and a great start to the service today. Thank you. It's
Oh, shucks.
great to be with you all. Thanks for having me back. Um, a lot has happened in my life since the last time I was with you all. About I should update my bio, actually. I'm realizing now in this moment. About 8 months ago, my partner moved back home to Brazil, where she's from originally, um, to be with her family, her brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews. All the extended family are still back home in Brazil. So she moved back home to retire and stay there after 14 years together. Kind of a big change. It was a mutual decision, and it was a long time, in the making. A lot of preparing and stuff went into that. It wasn't a sudden shock, but as you know, the end of a relationship like that it's a big change. And so the last several months have been pretty challenging in that way. I'm sure you all know personally. When someone leaves your life, it leaves a big hole, a big emptiness. It takes time to adapt, to just learn to live without that person. So I've been going through that recently, and then about 2 months ago, one of my best friends, in fact, my oldest friend in the world, took his own life. He had texted me earlier that day and asked me to give him a call. We were, he was planning to come up to Kansas City from Springfield and just wanted to work out some details of the trip, see if he could stay with me at my place a couple of nights. And um, I gave him a thumbs up emoji. And then I got caught up with life and got busy with doing something I don't even know what, and I never did call him back. And then the next day I got the call and I got the news that he was gone. And that really sent me down the spiral. You know what I mean? It was already sort of in a difficult place, dealing with the end of my relationship, and now grieving the loss of my oldest friend. Uh, we were inseparable back when I was like 13 through, I don't know, whenever he moved down to Springfield, early 20s sometime. And in such a tragic way, if you've ever lost anyone to suicide, it just leaves behind all of these questions, the wondering why and what if, and the feeling of guilt, even though I know better rationally, um, intellectually, the feeling persists. And I'm no stranger to depression. I've been dealing with it off and on my whole life since I was a teenager. But this has really been, one of the worst episodes that I have personally experienced these last couple months. And I'm still working through it, still still grieving, still reeling, still trying to get my feet under me. And to be honest, while I was working on this talk, sometimes I would hear this voice, you know, in the back of my mind, like, who are you to talk to anybody about God or spirituality or healing, right? Um, what have you got to say? Uh, why should anyone listen? How are you going to help anyone when you can't even help yourself? But I know that voice. We go way back, and I know better than to than than to listen to it. And I just decided that the best thing that I can do is speak to you honestly, authentically, and wholeheartedly from right here, right where I'm at. And that just happens to be, right smack dab in the middle of one of the worst episodes of depression that I've dealt with in this lifetime. So I'm going to talk to you today about what spirituality really looks like for me in this moment, and what practices I have found helpful, and what works and what doesn't. You know what gets me through. Because we all know that there's plenty of things that don't work very well, right? um, Zoning out in front of the TV, or scrolling social media, or drinking, or eating junk food. And I have spent plenty of time doing all of those things, but we'll focus today on what actually helps us heal, what actually helps us feel whole and alive, and instead of just killing time and numbing the pain. And I loved Terry's opening prayer this morning, and the reading about weeding the garden and things, because it really dovetails right into a lot of what I'm going to share here. Um, the practice that I work with the most, like every single day, is what I call just questioning the story. I don't know about you all, but I have this sad story that just keeps repeating uh, in uh, in my mind. Um, I'm sure that the details will vary from person to person. My story's about a guy struggling with grief and loneliness, and trying to keep up with the bills and the house and the pets and the yard and the to-do list, and on and on and on. Um, but I'm sure everyone can relate to sort of the negative self-talk, right? The the litany of complaints, the problems, the state of the world at large weighs heavily on all of us who, have a conscience and are paying attention. But I know that character in this story is not the truth of who I am. I know that. I am a child of the universe, made from the remnants of ancient supernovas. I am as much of a miracle of nature as anything on earth or in heaven. Um, I have had unforgettable, transcendent moments of connection and oneness with all that is. And I carry that with me. I know that truth in my bones. I know it's true for me. I know it's true for you, for all of us, each and every one. So when I find myself, listening to this sad story, to the negative self-talk, um, what I do when I catch that happening, I just pause and and question the story. What do I mean by that? Byron Katie's teachings are helpful. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with Byron Katie. She offers four questions to ask when you find yourself caught up in the inner monologue, and that inner narrative. The first question is this thought true? The second question, can you know if it's true absolutely? Can you absolutely know it 100% for certain? Number three, what happens when you believe that thought? How does that feel? What happens in your mind and body? And number four, who are you without that thought? That's sort of just one way of approaching what I call questioning the story. The idea is that these questions will guide you out of being caught up with this narrative and identified with this main character and guide you to the freedom of our true nature beyond the story. There's other ways to approach this. I think the fifth agreement, if I remember correctly, if y'all are fans of the four agreements, the fifth agreement, the follow-up book, was don't believe everything you think. Um, and then there's like the self-inquiry. Ramana Maharshi, a famous Eastern teacher, said the mind is nothing more than the thought I. If you just inquire as to who am I, what am I? What is this I? Where is it located? Where can I find it? What is it all about? If you just investigate that, it will lead you beyond the mind, beyond the narrative, beyond the ego and the false identity and the story that we tell ourselves into this realm of freedom and peace that lies beyond that. So that's one thing that I work with a lot is just sort of questioning that inner narrative, uh, trying to catch myself when I'm identifying with it, and learn to sort of doubt it and release it and move beyond it. Another thing that I do is rewriting the story. Once you can catch that happening and learn to cultivate that little pause, that little doubt, that little distance between yourself and the inner voice, the the ego narrative, then you can start to work with it. You can intervene. You can start to rewrite that story. And this can look a lot of different ways as well. Some people love to work with affirmations. I am a child of God. I am one with spirit. The presence of God is here. The peace of God is here. Um, for me, it most often shows up as more of like a reframing of a situation. My inner narrative will be really specific about its criticisms, and and so maybe at the end of a particularly bad day, when I have not managed to do most of what I set out to do, um, I'll find myself sort of, that inner voice is just kind of berating me, saying, well, there you go. You did it again. You just sat around feeling sorry for yourself and you didn't get anything done. Well, I just kind of catch that and I say, well, that's not true. I went to work. I fed the dogs. I think I even managed to do a load of laundry. So, that's enough for today. You did good. You did a good job. Just kind of reframing that narrative. Or if there's a situation at work, I have a boss that's particularly difficult. I'm sure none of you know anything about that. Uh, um, when he's really on one and making my life difficult, I like to sort of, instead of centering myself and making it all about me and, well, he shouldn't do this and it would be so much easier if he did that. I try to just reframe it and just remember, like, this guy's just a human being too, and going through his own problems in his family and his life, and he's hurting, and maybe in this moment I can just shift into a space of kindness and compassion and be like water and just flow around this hard, jagged rock, and just make this process easy and graceful as I can, whatever's under my control. So just this kind of reframing and rewriting the story. Don't make it all about me. Don't make it all about what's wrong, what should be, uh, the injustices, all of that stuff. Just a shift of perspective. What does this moment need from me? How can I reframe this in a way that's more kind and loving and compassionate? How can I be of service in this moment? Things like that. Another thing that I work with every single day is practicing gratitude. I know y'all are no stranger to the practice of gratitude. It can be hard, when things are really in shambles, but just focusing on the little things, the simplest pleasures that happen every day, like being outside on a nice day, the sunshine on your face and the birds singing, or catching a particularly beautiful sunrise or sunset, the first sip of coffee in the morning, um, cuddling with my dogs at night, things like this. I I heard the term recently, penny miracles, and, and I really love that. I've been kicking that phrase around. Penny miracles, just this little miracle that you find laying on the ground for free. And I just, when I find myself in one of those moments, I just, pause and just let it sink in and savor it. And I think, well, if this isn't nice, what is? That's a Kurt Vonnegut line. One of my favorite writers, Kurt Vonnegut. And if this isn't nice, what is? That line comes back to me all the time. Another thing that I do may sound funny, but it's just like I add a little silliness. I let myself be silly, and I don't know if that's spiritual or not, but uh, you know, like Jesus said, you have to become again as a little child. Like you have to, if you want to feel joy and be present in the now moment, you have to sort of cultivate that playfulness, that silliness, that curiosity, awe and wonder of a child. Um, and I talk to myself throughout the day. I talk to my dogs, and I just let myself be silly. Like every morning, and when I get up, I get showered and dressed. I go to the window here, I open the blinds, and I say, "Good morning, trees. Good morning, sky." And my dogs recognize that. That's their cue. They get up and start stretching and wagging their tails. They know it's time to go outside. I come home at the end of the day and I light a candle and I just say, "Let's add a little light." I and I talk to my dogs, with baby talk, and I just cuddle with them and play with them and just try and cultivate that silly, playful side. It's just one little way to touch joy, to touch happiness, and um, when things seem overwhelming otherwise. Um, there's a lot of, things that I could add to this list that help me, that I think are probably obvious to all of you. I read, I have bookshelves full of poetry and books on spirituality and meditation and philosophy. Reading really helps me. I have some podcasts that I listen to that are great. Music, sleep, diet, exercise, going outside, all the obvious things. But sometimes, even with all of those tools in my toolkit, I'm not really able to change my mood or change how I feel, at least not right away. Sometimes all I can do is just sit with how I'm feeling and just witness and accept and embrace what is. No matter what happens, no matter what's going on, no matter how I'm feeling or what thoughts are playing out in my mind, when the weeds in the garden are out of control. uh, you know, Sometimes I just sit with that and abide with it. I'm gonna I will dive into this concept of abiding. Yeah. Um, and even I'm thankful to report that even on the darkest hour of my worst day, the truth abides with me, within me. There has never been a moment, no matter how bad I feel, no matter how far down in the dumps I am, there has never been a moment when I am separate or apart from my source. Um, no matter how caught up I get with my own sadness and poor old me, you know, identifying with the main character, the narrator in this sad story, I never really forget or the truth or lose that connection. It's always there, and at any time, even in the midst of intense grief and sadness, and anger and pain, the divine presence is right here, always. I can always turn within and find that place inside that is still and quiet and empty and undisturbed, that freedom and peace that is beyond the mind, beyond the emotions, beyond the story. A poem comes to mind, a Rumi poem. I'm sure you all have heard it, but forgive me if I read it to you again. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing. Invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. When I am abiding in the truth, um, what that means to me, there's abiding means like patience. It means like this is something that has been true forever, eternally true, from before and will be long after the earth has crumbled to dust. There's this there's this truth abiding when I'm rooted and grounded in the source of my being. uh, there is room in my heart for whatever may come. I can feel it all, the good, the bad, the highs, the lows, the joy, the sadness, all of it. I can feel it all without being overwhelmed, without attachment, without resistance. That's a big one. Um, and the patience comes from knowing that this too shall pass. That human life, all of our thoughts and feelings and emotions and experiences, all the phenomena are impermanent. That they come and they go, they rise and they fall. And I can sit in touch with that truth and that peace, and just trust, that this crowd of sorrows that I'm feeling now is just clearing me out for some new delight, as Rumi says. So, with all of that said, uh, I'd like to, rather than just drone on and on, I would like to actually just, we'll start our meditation a little bit early, and maybe you'll forgive me for doing an extra long meditation today. We'll just kind of practice abiding together. I'll walk you through sort of what that looks like and feels like for me, what my meditation practice really really is. So just, you know, close your eyes if you want to. relax and take a deep breath. Just come home to this now moment, this place, this time, your body, as you continue to breathe deeply in and out. Every time you breathe in, that is the breath of God. That is the breath of spirit. That is life essence, manna, the good stuff. You are in the flow. Breathe that in. Breathe it in deep, all the way down into your diaphragm. And with each exhale, just release any tension that you might be feeling anywhere in your body. You can let yourself notice if there's a pain in your back or a pinched nerve in the neck, or you're just tight in your legs, or wherever that discomfort lies. Just breathe into it and release it. And just let yourself relax more and more, deeper and deeper, down into your body, into your senses, into the sensations that are happening. Notice just how much really is going on in this moment. Wherever you are, maybe the air conditioner is running, maybe there's sounds outside, birds or traffic or a loud neighbor. Just let all those sounds just just drift by. And notice your thoughts in the same way. Just kind of zoom out and let thoughts, feelings, sensations, sounds, just let them all drift by, drift through like clouds in the sky. No attachment, no resistance, no identification. When that inner voice starts up, as you know it will, it always does, whether it's memories that are coming, or a story that you're telling yourself, or a scene from a TV show you watched last night, whatever it is, you just let it be, let it come, let it go. It's all part of the scene. Let your sense of self and identity shift away from the little me, behind your eyes, between your ears, the ego voice. Let your identity expand to the deeper foundation, the ground of being, the field of awareness, of consciousness itself, that contains everything, that contains all of it. Just relax and let yourself be that field, that spacious, luminous, empty awareness. And just abide with that in silence for a while. whatever may arise within you, any feeling, any emotion, any thought. There's plenty of room for it. You can witness it. You can feel it. You can accept it. Let it come and let it go. This spacious awareness, this field of consciousness that we are, that is always here with us every moment of our lives. This is the divine presence of spirit, the infinite and eternal. This is divine love, the peace that passes all understanding. It's always here with us, nearer than our breath. So bring our meditation time to a close, bring our awareness back to the room, to the day, to whatever lies ahead of us. Just carry with you that feeling of peace and freedom, the love and compassion, the openness, the emptiness of pure awareness. And just know that whatever lies ahead, whatever's next, whatever comes, the dude abides. Thank you, God.